Looking for a way to get healthy? The Chef You and I program has the answer. Kathryn Raaker and chefs from around the nation will teach even the most inexperienced how to cook. Come into their kitchen and watch them take ordinary foods with loads of calories and fat and turn those foods into healthier dishes. You will be the first to get tips and ideas on foods that are easy to prepare. Now let's join Kathryn and today's chef and learn how to make today's recipes.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of The Chef You and I. I'm really excited for this show today because we're doing one of my favorite things in the whole world. I grew up on sauerkraut and pork, and we're going to be using Circle B Ranch Pork's recipe to do this. And it's the best ever pork roast and sauerkraut that you'll ever taste. So for the first things that you need to do is you need to get a 2-pound bag of sauerkraut, and we have all of our spices and everything here, and we're going to use these in the actual recipe. So it's 1 cup of sweet onions chopped, 1 peeled apple, Granny Smith, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, a half a teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon and a cup of water, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I use our favorite duck fat spray from Cornhuskers when we're going to be actually browning the pork. So what we have done, I'm going to move this over so you can all see it. We have a beautiful, almost 3-pound pork loin right here from Circle B Pork Ranch. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually take this. We preheated the oven to 325, and you put the rack in the middle. And we're going to we've already patted the pork dry, and we're going to sprinkle the entire roast with salt and pepper and smoked paprika, which I have. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to put it right here. And we're going to salt and pepper it. So I have the salt right here. And this is kosher salt, and you want to rub it in, and you want to turn it over. And you want to rub it in there till you've got it. So, because what we're going to do actually is we're going to sear it on all sides for 5 to 8 minutes until it's just seared the right way. So then we want the pepper, and that's a teaspoon of pepper. I like a little bit more pepper on my roast, so we're going to turn that over and give it another thing of pepper. And then we're going to do the paprika because that's going to give it a really nice flavor and taste to it. And this is smoked paprika, so you can see the difference. And you've used paprika before, and we do that a lot with our cooking, is we use a lot of smoked paprika. And when Father's here and he's cooking, Father Andrew, he loves paprika or anything hot, let's face it. So do that. And now you've got it. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to heat our pan. And we're using the 360 cookware of our pans over here, the frying pan over here. And the cameraman is going to come over here. And we're going to use 2 tablespoons of actually olive oil. And I use a light olive oil, so I'm going to heat this up. So what we're going to do is now we're going to take this and bring it over here, and as soon as it heats up a little bit and it'll start doing something very quickly. And then I'm going to take this, and what we want to do is we want to put this in there when it starts slathering a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. You have to put this in there. That's important, right? Okay, so we want to... And you can do it I love our pans because they're so easy and so easy to clean. And this is a skillet. I love it. So we're going to take this. As soon as it heats up a little bit, we're going to put this in. And it starts bubbling a little bit when it does it. So that's when you want to put it in. And you want to sear it. And you don't have to put this on real high because you know our pans do really beautiful work here. So I just want that to get a little bit... I can see it's starting to get hot, and I might turn the fan on. So I'm going to put this in there. You can hear it starting to sizzle, and that's what you want. it to sizzle. So I'm going to turn the fan on low, okay? And we want to let that sizzle for about 5 to 8 minutes on each side. And in the meantime, we're watching it, right? We will put the, actually, our timer on and put 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes on each side. So we'll come over here now, and the cameraman will come over here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take our wonderful apple, and we're going to actually do our onion and our apple and our trusty Bagwell right there. And we'll move this down, and we'll peel the apple, and we'll use this right here. I love Bagwells. They're just so wonderful. And we're going to peel our apple. It's a Granny Smith apple, and it's a large apple. And we're going to cut it up in chunks because it'll go into our pan. So everything is like a one-pan pot that we're going to do everything in. But we've got some surprises for you tonight. We're going to do a wonderful recipe in your muffin tins. And I have the kind that you don't have to grease. And we're going to do that. And basically, you're going to make it like you do regular potatoes au gratin, but we're doing it in the muffin tins. And they come out like little stacks of potato au gratin. So we've almost got this peeled. And what we're going to do next is we're going to cut our onion and we're going to cut our apple up right now. So here we go. Take this, and you want to cut this up in chunks actually, like this. And you know, I love cooking this type of thing because it's so cold right now. It's in the 30s, but it goes down at night, you know, sometimes into the teens. A lot of people have had snow. So it's been kind of a wild winter this year. We haven't had a lot of snow, but other parts of the country have. So that's one granny apple cut up into chunks like that. And we'll put this in, and we're going to put brown sugar, and it's going to taste great. You can use caraway seeds, but I choose not to. But a lot of people with sauerkraut use caraway. So I'll give you the recipe on our website, so you'll have it. But and the code, if you ever want to buy our pans, you'll see the code up on our website and on our television show as well. So that's 360 pans. So there we go. We're almost done with this apple. And I'm watching the time. We've got 3 more minutes on our wonderful pork loin. And this recipe is actually Circle B's recipe. We'll put that in there. Whoops. Great. I bet you had a wonderful, I love the winter because you can do all these wonderful recipes. Now it says 1 onion. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it into our wonderful chop and grind thing, because I love onion. My husband loves onion too. So we're going to put that in here. And I'm going to check on the roast here. I got to turn this down. Woo. Right, so we need to move it. Now you can see that. The cameraman can come over and see this. And you want to get it on all sides, so that it's browned. So we're going to watch this. I'd say a couple minutes on each side, actually. I'm going to turn this down a little bit so you can see it. And we're going to nestle that pork roast with the sauerkraut. So let me do this first. I'm going to do the onions. And this is a wonderful meal. It'll take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It all depends upon your oven. You could do it in a slow cooker if you wanted to, but I'm doing it in the oven. That's her recipe for this. And this is about a 3-pound. This is about a 3-pound roast. So I want to do it like this. Okay. Okay, that looks good. And let's put, I don't know if let's put a little bit more onion in it to give it a little bit more flavor. And, you know, pork is great for you. I love pork, especially in the wintertime. We're going to be doing spare ribs coming up. We're going to be doing all kinds of things with pork. But, and chicken and a lot of other things. We love to do fish. We're going to be doing a crab night one night. So, here we go. Okay, that should be done. So we're done with that. And we'll put that in here for right now. We'll use it a little bit later. Okay, so let's look and check on this. Here we go. That's looking good. And I think I want to do this for a minute. And I want to get it all the way around. Just take that and go on. Whoops. I think that's going to be as done as we're going to get it. So I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to turn this off right here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here. Now that we've done our apples and we've done our onions, now we're going to open up the sauerkraut, right? And we're going to make a nest of the sauerkraut in the bottom of this pan. So I'm going to do this. And this is actually 2 pounds of sauerkraut. And I'm not getting rid of the water in the sauerkraut because you don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And then because I don't want to get my hands messed up, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my gloves on. And I'm going to move the sauerkraut around to make it a nest. And because the pork is going to sit on top of the sauerkraut. But we're going to add the onions and everything to it. And so I'm making a nest of it. So the next thing you want to do is you want to actually add all the rest of the ingredients. And this is a Dutch oven. So actually we're going to saute the apples and the onions in the same pan that we did this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring this over. I'm going to bring this over here and put the roast on top of the sauerkraut, okay? Like that. So it's a nest, right? And then I'm going to take my apples and onions and I'm going to brown them in the pan that I just did all this in. So, hold on. We're going to do this. We're going to take our apples, okay? And you don't have to turn anything on high with these wonderful pans because they cook so evenly. You don't have to turn them up. So, this is a whole apple and our onions. Here we go. All right, so you just want to saute them. And right here, I'm going to take those. And so add that to it. All right. And sometimes people don't like big chunks of onions, so what I did on this is that I kind of, you know, grinded them or so that it'll look really nice, but it'll taste good too. So we're doing this and just sauteing that, and then this is going to go on. Then I'm going to add the brown sugar in a minute to this, and that is 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. And as soon as they're done, I'll add this to it. But this is really a simple recipe that you can do very easily. Sometimes people like to use a crock pot to do it, but I like to do it this way. Okay? So that looks really good. And so all that wonderful juice from the meat and everything went into the apples and the onions. So they look like they're getting pretty soft to me, so I'm going to add the brown sugar to it. And that's going to make it absolutely wonderful. You can see that. So, and then what we're going to do is put this on top of, and we're going to add a little bit of water to the pot that we're going to put it in. Okay, because you don't want it to get dry, definitely. And so you want to check it after about an hour and a half, because it should read 145 to 150. And that's what it should be. So we're going to cover this whole thing with our apples and our onions. Okay, that's going to be delicious. And I love red cabbage, and you've seen me make, red cabbage on the show, right? And this is going to be just a little different, if you know what I mean. So, and we're going to put this in for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It all depends upon, the heat in your oven. So this is a really heavy skillet for me, so just bear with me a second. And all of our recipes are going to be on our website, which is thechefyouandi.com. So there you go. And if you want a recipe converted or anything, we'd love to do it for you to get it healthier. So you want to pour all that wonderful juice in there. Okay, we're done with that. Okay. Now, we're going to put a lid on this and put it in the oven. And I have actually preheated the oven to 325 degrees already, so it's ready to go. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and you can see it's on the middle rack. Put this in there, and we're going to let it go for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So we'll put the timer on. So we want, we want 90 minutes. Okay, we're going to do that. Okay, we started it. We're going to take a little short break here, and when we come back, we're going to teach you how to make this beautiful salad that we're very excited about making. And what I've done is I'm actually using grapes, blueberries, pecans, onions, lettuce, and it's just going to be a wonderful salad to serve, light salad that you'll really enjoy. We'll be right back on The Chef You and I. We're back on The Chef You and I, and now I'm making a pear, grape, blueberry, pecan, lettuce salad with a honey-based dressing with balsamic vinegar. You're going to love it. It's so easy to do, and you'll have so much fun with it. So I have a Bartlett pear here. I'm going to put one Bartlett pear in here, and you want to cut this up really nice. And then the onion, you want to do really small, thin slices of the onion. And we're going to cut the grapes. And, sometimes recipes call for red grapes. Well, I couldn't find any decent red grapes today. So I love green grapes, and they are in such good supply right now. And they're easy to find, and they're delicious. So we're going to put this in there, right? And then we're going to cut up this pear. Just slice it. It just looks delicious. I love pears. And they're really in great supply right now. And I got some for Christmas that were I couldn't stop eating them. They were so delicious. So there's no real waste there. So we're going to cut this up. And if you want to use another pear, you can, because a lot of people like pears. But this recipe is only for 2 people. So you double it if you were making it for more or a crowd, whatever. But you could use this as a luncheon salad or, a brunch. Brunch would be great. So don't waste anything. So I happen to have a lot of fruit on hand right now, and I like fruit, and fruit's good for you. So this is great. So we've almost got that all done. We do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut these in half, because they're pretty big. They're actually pretty big, as you can see. So, and I've got more than a cup here because I love grapes. And this salad is actually going to be for about maybe 2 helpings. You know, 1 for today and 1 for tomorrow, because it'll be great and it'll taste wonderful. So can you imagine having this with the pork and the scalloped potatoes? And then we're going to have a really nice dessert, a light dessert, like strawberries and whipped cream or something like that, or even like maybe a yogurt, frozen yogurt with some strawberries and berries and maybe a little whipped cream. That sounds good to me. So you don't want to get any stems in there. So we've got those. So we're going to put the lettuce in first. And I've already washed the lettuce on. And if you have a spinner like I do, you want to spin all the water out as best you can so you don't, so that the actual salad isn't really wet. So anyhow, and you can get a lot of these wonderful fruits. You know, there's some even markets that are open air markets, believe it or not, especially in the South where you can get a lot of things. But up here, you'll get them in your grocery store, and which I go to all the time. And so anyhow, here we go. So we're going to assemble this as fast as I can. And that's about all of it. So this is more than a cup. This is almost a cup and a half of grapes. So there you go there. Now what we're going to do is actually do this onion. And it's already been peeled, right? So I'm not going to use that much of it, because you just want to show, it's about 1/4 of an onion. So here we go, right? And we're going to cut it in real thin slices. See what I'm doing? See how thin those slices are? Just to give it a really pretty look to the salad, because I've used this wonderful lettuce. I love leaf lettuce, you know, from the garden. And, you know, out in California, they're still growing lettuce, so in a lot of other parts. So let's use that. So that's about 1/4 of an onion, okay? So let's take our lettuce and bring it over here for a minute, okay? And what we're going to do is make sure all the water is out. There we go. So it looks like it's out for me. Whoops. There it is. So what I'm going to do is put this over here, wash my hands real quick, and I'm going to put some gloves on for a minute, because that way I keep everything really clean, right? It's sterile, right? So we're going to put these gloves on, new pair of gloves. We're going to assemble the salad. Actually the roast is at 66 minutes, so that's only an hour from now, and we'll check it in about a half an hour to see what it's like, because you don't want to kill the pork. You want it to be really tender. So that's really important. So using your thermometer, 145 to 150 is what they're suggesting. So when it gets to that, you take it out of the oven and let it rest for about 15 minutes before you actually slice it. Okay, so here's our lettuce. And this is really beautiful leaf lettuce. And it's really called a red lettuce. It's really called a red lettuce. So it's got a little bit of red in it. Move that out of the way. Move my drink out of the way and move that out of the way. We're going to put all that into your salad, okay? All those little pieces of fruit and whatever. So, and this is going to do 2 plates or 3 or 4 plates of actual salad. So I'm going to use all of this lettuce, because I'll save it for tomorrow as well. After church, it's great, like almost like a brunch, right? And you could have poached eggs or something really cool with the salad. It's always good. So I'm going to move this over here. And then we're going to take and use my little trusty instrument here. And we're going to go like this with a pear. We're going to add the pear. Okay. And then we're going to add the wonderful grapes, right? And that's good. And then we're going to add feta cheese in a minute. But I've already cleaned my berries off. So, hold on. I'm going to do about a half a cup of berries. blueberries because they're, you can get them very readily, or make it a cup. Who cares? So use a cup. So that's going to be really pretty because usually this salad sometimes calls for red grapes, and I didn't, like I said, I couldn't find red grapes that looked they just didn't look that good. So then you add your wonderful onions to it, and some people love onion, right? So you go like that, and let's add the rest of the onions to it. Okay, that looks really pretty, huh? I like it a lot. That looks really nice. Then what we're doing is we're going to add our feta cheese. I think that's enough grapes. I'll use those other grapes for another recipe or just to eat. And you can freeze grapes. I don't know about you, but you can freeze grape and just use them as a very fat-free type of dessert. Okay, so freeze the grapes. So that looks really good. So what we're going to do is when we get ready to serve this, I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is take a little short break, and then I'm going to make the dressing. We'll be right back on The Chef You and I right after these messages. We're back on The Chef You and I decided since I had some beautiful strawberries and I didn't have the red grapes, I want to give this a little color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these beautiful strawberries up, and I'm going to half them, right? And, you could use any fruit you wanted in this, but I want to make it look really pretty, if you don't mind. I know you wouldn't mind. And, strawberries, unfortunately, that come into the grocery store, especially in the wintertime, you have to use them fast because, unfortunately, they get bad sometimes. And so I didn't want these two, so I thought, wow, this is a great idea. Why not do it? So these are big strawberries, too. And this year, I bought myself, when my granddaughter comes to cook with me, a chocolate melting machine. And we had so much fun making, actually, wonderful chocolate dipped strawberries. And guess what we're doing for Valentine's Day? We've got a little girl that's coming over to make Valentine's cookie and everything for her mom and her family for Happy Valentine's Day, which is coming up soon. So anyhow, we love doing these kind of things on the Chef You and I show. So here we go. This is the end of this. So we've got that, and it looks really pretty. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is put some nuts in it, and I've got pecan nuts. And so I'd say maybe a quarter of a cup of pecan nuts. And if your family's allergic to nuts, don't put nuts in it. So anyhow, do that. So this looks really pretty. Absolutely beautiful. And then we're going to serve it on some beautiful plates. And so you'd have this before you would have the pork. And we're going to do this kind of like a scalloped potato stack in just a minute. So now we're going to make the dressing, and we're going to put the dressing in the refrigerator. And so what we need is, I'm adding a teaspoon of honey. Teaspoon of honey. So this is a teaspoon right here of honey, because you want it to be a little bit sweet. And I use agave as well. Here, I'm going to move that over here so you can see that. I sometimes use agave when I'm cooking because it's just healthier for you. But this is that clover honey that's so delicious, right? And, actually what you could do is just do this. There's never too much honey, right? And then what we want to do is we want to wash our gloves off for a minute because they get sticky, right? And then let's add our vinegar. So we want to put, or actually our olive oil. You want 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And here we go. That's 1, 2. Okay. And then you want 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. And I love balsamic vinegar. It's so delicious. There we go. 1, 2. Okay, that's that. And then a little bit of cracked pepper. So I'm adding that. Right. And then I think that's about it. Olive oil, honey, cracked pepper, and balsamic vinegar. So we're going to add this. I'm going to stir this up a little bit. We're going to shake this in our, I have these wonderful things that I use for limoncello and other things that I make, and I always have those around. So we're going to pour this into this and let it sit out for a little while. And if that's not enough, then you can add more to it. We could make another. Actually, we could make some more of it, so just in case that we have enough. Okay? So let's do that. So we know how much honey to put in there. Okay? And then 2 tablespoons again of the vinegar. And then the olive oil. Because sometimes if you're doing it for more than just 2 people, you need more than that, right? And then the cracked pepper. All right, so let's mix this up a little bit. All right, that looks delicious. I can't wait to try it. So we want to do this. And then we'll have enough, just in case. So that was a really simple recipe for the dressing, right? So, and then just put this on top. And push this down. And then what you want to do is shake it up. And I'm going to leave it out because we're actually putting the salad in the refrigerator for a little while. We're going to put some Raaker on it, and so that it'll be really nice and tasty when it's time for the dinner. So we'll be right back on the Chef You and I. Don't forget to go to our website at the Chef You and I for all of our recipes, and you can print them out. If you want to send some recipes in, or you want to make some of your favorite dishes lighter, because everybody's losing weight again this year, right after Christmas or New Year's. So just write us at kraaker123@gmail.com. And also go to our website at thechefyouandI.com. We'll be right back after these important messages. We are back on the Chef You and I, and we're making au gratin potato stacks. And these are really simple. We're not making little stacks, we're making a little bit bigger stacks. So we've got this really nice, beautiful pan that we're going to use to do it in. So the first thing we're doing is we're taking I'm using 3/4 of a stick of actually butter, unsalted butter, and I'm putting it into my 360 pan. And then we're adding to that, actually a half, we're not adding our cheese yet, we're adding the fresh thyme leaves. So we need actually 3 teaspoons of our, actually we're doing parsley first. And so that's, oh wow, that was messy, huh? So I think I'm going to do it like this. So there's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. So I'm using parsley because I don't like sage, and I wanted to use some different types of herbs. So we're doing thyme next, and it is, it is 3 teaspoons of fresh thyme. And we're not using the leaves, so we're using the powder. So, but we don't want it to taste too herby, if you know what I mean. So I'm only using 2 teaspoons of that. And then I'm adding a sprinkle of dill weed to it. And that's maybe a half a teaspoon, okay? So, and then we need kosher salt, right? And so we need, actually, of the kosher salt, we need a half a teaspoon. So that's about a half a teaspoon. And then we need black pepper, okay? And that's a half a teaspoon of black pepper. And a lot of people are not crazy about pepper. So we're adding the pepper to it. And we're going to let this, we're taking and putting this onto the stove. but we're adding to that our wonderful half and half. And it calls for, in this recipe, a half a cup. But I'm actually going to do a cup because I've got a lot of potatoes. Okay, so I'm using a cup of the half and half. And we'll put this on the stove and we'll let it simmer. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to stir it. And actually, you don't want this to be really high. You don't want it to boil. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to watch it for a minute or two. So I'm stirring it and letting the butter melt in here. So if you leave it on low, it should be fine. So now what I can do is I can go over, I'm going to mix all those herbs in there because this is an herb cream that you're making to pour over these au gratin potatoes. So now what we're doing is we're going to let it go. All right, so I'm going to stay with this. I'm going to continually stir this a little bit, okay? And sometimes I melt the butter ahead of time, but it's going to take a little while to melt this. So we're doing 6 potatoes, and once this is done, I'm going to turn this really on a real low heat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do my potatoes, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. So we actually are going to take our potato and we're slicing it, and you actually do not peel the potatoes. Okay. So there you go. And there's one there. But you got to be careful with this because you don't want to cut yourself. Absolutely not. Okay. So now here's the next potato. So here we go. And we have to actually keep an eye on our thing. So it just heated up well. So we need 3 more potatoes. This is so easy using this. I love this. So 1 more. 2 more potatoes. Anyhow, when we get this all done, we are actually going to pour the cream into it and add the cheese to it, right? And then what we'll do is we've got almost all of it out of there. We're done, okay? So there's the potatoes. That's 6 potatoes, right? So we'll move that. Now we're going to go over to the cream because we don't want to burn it, right? And so it's almost melted. It looks great, actually. We're going to pour this over it. And we're going to pour this over the potatoes, right? And, wait a second. Turn it up just a little bit. And I'm going to make sure all those herbs are mixed in well, right? And then we're going to take this over there in a minute. But we're going to add this to the potatoes. So we've already done that. We're going to pour the herb cream over the sliced potatoes and half of the Gruyere and the Romano cheese. So half and half, okay? So we have 2 different types of cheese. And then at the very end, we're going to put up more on the top. How about that? So let's do this. We're going to pour this over it. Wow, doesn't that look good? And we're going to toss it. I'll put this in the oven right now. Move that. And you know I like to clean up a little bit while I'm doing this, so it makes it easier for the last cleanup, right? So we're going to mix this, the potatoes. Make sure that they get all covered with this beautiful cream. And then we're going to add the cheese to it. And then at the very end, we're going to add some extra cheese to it. How about that? So let me do this. Half of the cheese. All right. And this, all of this, half of this. And 3/4 of a cup. This is 3/4 of a cup, believe it or not. I couldn't believe it. So you want to toss that. All right, get that. And then we're going to stack the potatoes inside here. Right? So you want to take the potatoes and actually stack them, right, in the muffin tins. So what they'll do is they'll come out as a stack. I think I'm going to add a little cheese to that. And so you just keep stacking them until you get to the very top of it. Oh, I need to take a short break, and I'll be right back on the Chef You and I and our stacked potatoes. We'll see you in just a second. Thank you. We're back on the Chef You and I, and the other pan was too big, so I went to a smaller muffin tin. And this is exactly what they suggested, but we thought we were going to be able to do it a little different way. So what you want to do is you want to stack the potatoes, slices like this. Make sure they go all the way to the top, like I'm doing, because you're going to put parchment paper and you're going to put more cheese on the top of this, right? And we're going to make 24 of these, or how many is that? 12? I think it's 12. Right, here you go. And we'll wipe those away, that away. And that's the reason why I'm wearing gloves, because this is messy. So, like I said, this recipe and all of our recipes from today's show will be on our website, which is thechefyouandi.com. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to add more cheese here in a minute. So, and if you've never made au gratin potatoes, they're so delicious. You know, my mom used to make them when I was a little kid, and I always loved them. And I love scallop potatoes, and you'll see a lot of other recipes or our other meals also have scallop potatoes. So this is the time of year that you want to do this, because the oven feels really good in the wintertime. And you can be baking cookies and all kinds of stuff, right? Right. And when I have my grandchildren, and my friends' children, I actually love to make different things with little kids. So I'm going to move this around a little bit so that I can get to the back part of it. This is going to work out perfectly. So you can see that, and I did put some nonstick Cornhuskers duck spray in here, because I'm not quite sure if this is as good as the other one is as far as getting the nonstick part of it. So we'll find out in a little while how well they do. And this is the first time I've ever made this, so it should be interesting to see what it comes out like. So remember how long it said it takes. Okay, hold on. So we really want to fill these all the way to the top. Okay, here we go. Here, let's see, here, because we're going to pour some of this liquid actually over the top of it. All right, let's see, this one needs a little bit more, because you're going to put parchment paper, remember, on top of this. Right, there we go. You have a little bit more. Who needs it? This one. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add, I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to use some put some extra cheese on top. So I'm just going to do this like that. And I'm going to add more of this liquid. So what I'm going to do is I have one of these, and I'm going to pour some liquid onto each one of these. Okay? So there's enough liquid in every one of them. So, because you have liquid left, so why not use it? Because it's different than scallop potatoes. Right. Then we're going to put a piece of parchment paper on top of here. so that the cheese that we're putting on the top doesn't stick. And then we're going to put aluminum foil, and we're going to put it onto a tin. Right? Here we go. Looks good to me. All right. There we go. And here, I think I missed one because I had already put cheese on top of it. Here we go. Right? I'm going to get all that lovely cream in there. So now we're going to put the rest of the cheese on it. And then we're going to put the parchment paper. And you need to have a 400-degree oven. I'm going to wipe some of this off. Hold on. Because I don't like it coming, I want it to come out really nice when you take it out of the pan, right? So I always do this, right? And move that back there. All right. Let's do that. Let's put the cheese. That's the Gruyere and some of the Romano on it. And then this, and you're going to do that, right? And then when you put the parchment paper on there, it's going to actually help so that the cheese stays on top of it, right? So it's not going to melt on the pan. Okay, so this looks really good. Can't wait to taste it. And I know that my grandchildren that are older will probably love to make this for friends. You know, like appetizers or something. Instead of potato skins, you have these. I think that sounds good. And so, a little bit more. And then we'll add the other cheese to it in a second. And then put the parchment paper on top of it. Okay? This is cool. I can't wait. I can't wait to try our pork either. So we're going to now take the muffin tin that I have the potatoes in them. We're going to put it on a sheet pan that you make cookies on. And then we're going to put it in a 400-degree oven after I do the parchment paper and the aluminum foil. We'll be right back. We're going to put the parchment paper now onto the top of our muffin tin. And then what we're going to do is add the aluminum foil to it. So we're going to put the aluminum foil just around the muffin tin. And then put it into a 400-degree oven. And I'll tell you how long in just a second. I think it's 20 or 25 minutes. 30 minutes, actually. And then you check it. And then you bake it for 30 minutes in a 400-degree oven, and then you take it out, take the foil and the parchment paper off, and bake it and put it back in the oven again, and bake it for 20 minutes. We'll be right back on The Chef You and I. We're back on The Chef You and I, and this is the best part of the show. We get to eat it all. And I have to tell you, this was the easiest dinner I've ever put together on The Chef You and I, and it cleaned up really, really well. I'm very surprised. The pork came out perfect at 2 hours, less than 2 hours, and it ended up being at 150 degrees. There's the stacked au gratin potatoes, and this is the feta cheese with leaf lettuce, with blueberries and pears and strawberries and everything that you love. And I think that you really will enjoy this whole meal. We want to thank all of our sponsors, 360 Pans, which is done by America. We love working with them. Also, Circle B Pork Ranch, which provided us with the pork loin today and the recipe. And also, one of our favorite other sponsors is Cornhuskers Duck Fat Spray. That's gourmet duck fat spray. And I use it for everything. We want to thank them all. Have a happy, prosperous new year this year in 2022. And bon appetit. Don't forget to go to our website at thechefyouandi.com and send us your recipes at kraker123@gmail.com. Thanks again for joining us. Bon appetit.
Thanks for joining us on the Chef You and I Show today. We'll be back next week with another great and healthy recipe. Don't forget to visit our website, thechefyouandi.com, for all of our featured recipes, cooking tips, and clips of the show.